Good afternoon, podcast community. Do we have a special guest in the studio? Who comes into the studio Friday afternoon? I'll give you an answer. Somebody that wants to share something with you. So you get to hear from Elli Jolly. Now, Elli, I want you to introduce who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Well, okay. Thanks for having me. First of all, I appreciate
Absolutely.
the opportunity to be here with you. I'm Elli Jolly, as he's already said, and well, I'm an insurance agent, but I don't really think of myself as an insurance agent. I am a servant of the people. That sounds really bad. That sounds really
good.
cheesy, but I serve people approaching the age of Medicare and beyond. So those approaching 65 and beyond. I also do life insurance like most insurance agents, but Medicare is my special niche. And those are the people that I love to serve. I mostly love to serve folks that find themselves not making it after retirement when they get their Social Security. If someone is making a choice to buy food or their prescriptions, those are my favorite.
All right,
clients.
we got to get into your personal life here. So this is going to be a tough one.
Okay.
So when you were looking for your husband, did you, when you heard his name was Jolly, was that an automatic connection? Because you're a jolly person. So tell me about that.
Oh boy, this is a little embarrassing, but
Okay.
I was divorced and I had been divorced for a few years at that point and I was doing fine. But my friends were married still and I was a little lonely. So I can't believe I'm admitting this on a podcast. I did get online I went on Bumble.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard some good things about
I did.
it. Okay.
And he happened to be on there and I saw him. And I liked the name. Yes. I was a little jaded. I was very, very hesitant and reluctant, but I liked his name. But he knows this. He won't be surprised. It was his eyes.
Wow. Okay. So where did he take you on that first date? Where was that?
Well, I kept trying to cancel. I kept trying to run away. I was very, very reluctant. And so he said, well, you got to eat. It was, a matter of fact, it was February and he's an accountant. So tax season was happening and he was very busy. And he said, well, you got to eat, right? So because we kept trying to find a time and I was working in my old corporate gig and like I said, tax season is busy. So he said, you got to eat. And he said, where you want to go? I said, well, I could get over to the Cracker Barrel at Chastain.
Ooh.
It's like my favorite place.
Square, that's it. That meat and three square meal. Wow, that's good.
It's my favorite place. What's better?
Yes.
Right? There's nothing better. If you can't find something there to eat, there might be something wrong with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, that's a cute little place. I like the store.
So I went. I was afraid. I almost canceled, but I went because
okay,
the girls got to eat.
So for the viewers out there that are a little hesitant to go on that first date after the first one didn't work out, like after the date, what were your thoughts?
I was nervous. Yeah.
After you were nervous or before?
Well, because he seemed too good to be true.
Okay.
So I will say this. How about I say this, ladies? There are good men still out there, even in our age group. In our 50s, there are good men. There are some really good men out there. Really
they're usually like accountants, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Because they know their numbers, which is always a good person that knows their numbers.
That's right.
Okay. So did you guys go on like a balloon ride or anything crazy that you could share with our viewers?
Actually, yes. And it's funny that you say that because we hadn't talked about this before and no one's going to believe it, but he's an accountant and accountants are frugal. I'm actually very frugal too, which is why it's nice that I'm now focused on my risk management business for people, right? Because I'm very frugal too. And this is crazy because we had just had our first date and we had been talking for, I don't know, I think we'd been talking since maybe January. We've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
I'm a real slow mover. And we've been talking for a while. So anyway, we had decided Alan Jackson, this was right before COVID.
Yeah.
This was 2020, right before COVID. And Alan Jackson was coming downtown Atlanta. So he did something. He says this is the craziest thing he's ever done. He bought tickets for us to go down there on Valentine's Day, which is for a second date.
Yeah.
A first nighttime date. That is really crazy.
Yes.
Valentine's
You
Day.
usually don't find those crazy things from an accountant.
No.
I mean, they're usually like by the book. Okay, we're going to do. So that is stepping out of maybe the stereotype of a person. So what I know you mentioned that you had a corporate gig.
I did.
Okay. So corporate gigs, you get your paycheck regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, it show up, it comes every whatever 2 weeks, whenever.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were kind of like thinking, I'm going to do something different, you've always kind of served, because I've talked to you about a few things that you did.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thought when it was serving seniors? What did you kind of, what were your emotions, or what were you thinking about that time?
Well, you've heard me say this before, and the whole reason I kind of had a desire to not be beholden to the corporate world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that a layoff would come. It did ultimately come a little sooner than I expected, but it was all in, a blessing, and I think that was probably God's will for me. But
yes,
but it was really in the beginning a way to protect myself, right? And my earning potential, and maybe take that into my own hands and take control of my own life, right? So I actually first got a P&C, a property and casualty license, which I have, right? I mean, so my initial thought was get that license because that's the one you get, right?
Right.
And then I had decided I would also get the life accident sickness license, which is what I have, which is what lets me do Medicare and life insurance products. But it really was, I've shared this with you and you've heard me tell the story, but my mom was, we got a very surprising diagnosis with her. She had COVID and she was coughing up blood, and she was up in Ohio, and I was here, and she was coughing up blood, and I said, hey, that's not normal.
Right.
You need to see a doctor. And anyway, we came to find out that she has cancer, and it's stage 4 and it's terminal. So a lot of trips up to Ohio. Cleveland Clinic was amazing, wonderful. And anyway, fast forward, I mean, she is here in the Atlanta area. We've got her moved down here.
Really?
And now she's being treated at Emory. And so we are still fighting this battle. We are still chugging along here fighting this battle. But I give her a lot of credit because she was, that's a lot of CT and I mean, first they do the MRIs, then they do the CT scans, then they do the PET scans, right? And it's expensive. So I was like, why can't I just get involved in this? Why can't I just be able to do something about this? Why can't I help you, right, with this? So I decided to get that license and become that kind of an insurance agent too, mostly so I could help her. Kind of like that was the reason behind it, really, was so that I could step in and maybe have conversations. I was her power of attorney, we did all that. And if you're in a situation like this, you really should think about being a power of attorney for your parent. People need that. They don't realize it, but you really do need that because you can't talk to the doctors or you can't talk to anybody. We tell Emory every time we go in there. Now, remember, I'm the POA, so you can go ahead and talk.
Right.
But
it's good for our viewers to know, because not everybody thinks about that, because they say, I don't need it right now. But getting it done right away just makes things a lot easier for the communication that is needed in the medical community to you to your mom and any loved one. So what would you say, like, when you started working with seniors, what did you like most about it?
This is going to sort of sound like a bad thing, right? But what I have come to find, and I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know, but I realize not everybody's in this situation, but I have come to find that a lot of people are in my mom's situation that I meet, right? Where their Social Security is just not enough to buy food and to pay rent and to pay for prescriptions, which are expensive. And even with insurance, they can be expensive, right? A tier 3 drug is $47. Well, this all adds up. It all adds up.
Right.
And there's a lot of special programs I try to help people get on to get them some help. But that's been the biggest surprise and also the biggest blessing in doing this is that, super eye-opening. And I share this every time we go to a networking thing and with our peer group, and even in our business community. If I go somewhere like a chamber thing, I say, so, to make people aware that our seniors are actually, a lot of them are really having a hard time making it.
Right.
And that's been the biggest surprise, and the thing that drives me and motivates me, because I feel like I can actually help. Like, if I can get them insurance coverage that happens to get them transportation, it happens to get them a food card, it actually helps a lot. And
Sure.
and so that I have I'm sort of justice minded, right? I worked in nonprofit before I went to the last corporate gig, right? And I need to feel like
You
I'm
can
doing
empathize
something.
with
Yeah.
people, because we had the remember, we met at the Family Advocacy Center, and the I'm drawing a blank. DA spoke.
County.
Well, he was on our show last Friday, so you were a week after that. But what we were talking, there's 100,000 seniors in Cobb County. And I always put the 80-20 rule on everything. So you basically have 20% of the population, or 20,000 people, that need really immediate help. I mean, they're out there just scratching and clawing. So there's a lot of need just in our county. When you think about 100,000 seniors are just in Cobb County, that's 770,000 is the total population. So you look at that number, I don't know if that works out. I should have figured it out. It's probably 16% or something like that. Maybe your husband will give us a number for that, because he knows the numbers.
You can phone a friend.
Yeah, so 100,000, 770,000 people. But my point is, there are a lot of needs out there. You find yourself getting joy in helping people through the maze. Does that, like, when you said, like, I remember you said that when we were talking, I don't know if it was today or another day, that coming up with those resources they don't even know exist.
Yeah.
How do you look for those? Is that training that you go through, or how do you know those kind of things are out there? Because the government programs are not the simplest.
No, they're not the simplest, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
They're just not. And I mean, the insurance carriers have trainings. We talk about there's a great program that Social Security offers that people don't know about, where you can get a discount on your prescriptions. We call it Extra Help. Well, you apply for that through SSA.gov, right? And then, of course, there's a Medicaid program, but it's not the same Medicaid program that we are familiar with, where there's a spend down and all that. It's called the Medicare Savings Program. And so those programs I'm familiar with. But what I really like to do, because even though I was a long time Cobb County resident till just recently, because I got remarried, what I really like to do is, all of our counties have like a senior services department, or they have a Meals on Wheels program, and those are my people. Those are always my favorite people to network with, honestly. Apart from everywhere I see you and what I do, I love to go visit my Meals on Wheels people and hang out in their centers with those people.
Right.
They have a resource list for each county, right? So I keep that and I add to it as I hear about things like Talatuna helping people pay their heating bills. Like, I don't know, maybe that's an odd thing for an insurance agent to do.
I think what it communicates to our viewers, which I want them to understand, because I'm curious by nature, is you look for ways to help and support, which means if you're not in your business, we don't know what all those things are. We have no idea. We're doing our regular, life, not studying it like you are, not with the same eyes. And I think what I have found, which I had no idea before hitting 65, how complicated it is. It's not like you check a box and now you're in Medicare. It's like,
no,
every step is changing. It's like, now there's a new thing. Now we got to re-enroll. We got to do this. This is available. No, it's not available now. So it makes it hard for our viewers to really say, look, they got their regular life. They can't be studying every single county and every law, everything that goes on.
Right.
So I guess my point is, if you're a viewer, you got to look for people that know what you need to know. And once you hit 65, the game's, I mean, not the game, but it starts the process of discovering all these things that are out there. And if you don't know what's out there, it's your fault because you don't know. And there's consequences from not knowing. Exactly. So I want to just tell our viewers that dial in to, I mean, when you hear somebody say this, like you just described, like keeping track of all the different things, because you'll go to one center and they'll say, hey, we got this new program out, and you're writing it down. So you're going to carry it on to your seniors so they can say, hey, this is available to you. That could cut your cost of this down in half. Yeah. And if they can understand that having experts like yourself that care for seniors, care for, I think when you said the nonprofits, I always see people that are involved in nonprofits, they have that heart to serve. They have a heart to help whatever the cause is. And I think you kind of just go in there because that's where you like to fill your heart. So tell our viewers, like every month, I'm just curious for my own sake, are there like things that are constantly changing, or just a few things that change within the Medicare system? How does that, our viewers, how can they understand what's coming down or what's happening? Within
Medicare, it's not as often as that, right? They just dropped how many pages is it? 1,300? I don't know. It's a lot of pages. They just dropped a big book on all of us to sort through and figure out. And I'm not really seeing a whole lot that I think it's going to affect my clients, but I do know, for example, next year we already know that the prescription drugs will be capped. Your out-of-pocket will be capped at $2,000, which is different. That's a big change. But now we've known that that's coming. That's a 2025 change that's coming.
That's just for our viewers. I don't know. So that's a cap, a yearly cap?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have that now.
Okay.
You don't have it now.
Okay. So I can't have my Adderall again because off insurance it's $950, which Whoa. a couple of bottles of that's done. No. So really you have a cap. So if you're taking medications and that goes to $10,000, you're
out of pocket next year, not now.
Okay. So that's new. So it comes in at the end of this year. Is that
first of next year?
First of next year. Okay. So what is is that automatic, or does a person need to do something?
That'll be a Medicare rule. That'll be all the plans. That's just the way it'll be. Let me say, if you're on a Part D drug plan, like if you have a supplement and you've got a Part D drug plan, you'll see that. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, you'll see that because you've got Part D coverage. Now, if you don't have Part D coverage, you're not going to see that.
Okay. So you have to, because I'm familiar with A and B. So you say there's a C and D?
Yep. There sure
Dang,
is.
Does it go all the way to the alphabet like the Z?
No. And
okay.
You'll hear me say this whenever I do like a Medicare quick 101, minute with people. I always talk about FICA. And I always talk about like how, look, you've been paying into this. You've seen FICA on your pay stub forever, and you think, great, when I'm 65, I'm going to be so well covered. And it's just not the way it is. It's just not the way it is. That's your Part A, and y'all probably already know. I don't need to get all into that. But
you'd be surprised because our viewers, a lot of our viewers are 60, so they're getting into. And if I would have known what I know now. Man. When I hit 65, I didn't even know that that they basically kicked you off the payroll of the company you're with.
Not every time.
Yeah, but it's up to the company. If they say, see you later, you're gone.
You're gone.
And then you have to figure it all out. And it isn't easy figuring out what are your options, because help me understand, because I've heard this before. If I decide like I don't want the B plan at the beginning, Like I say, I'm just going to just take A. That's all I can afford.
Okay.
I'm done, right? I can't go back,
You're
or
not
there's a
done. You're not
penalty.
done.
Isn't there a penalty or something?
So if you have what they call credible coverage at work, it's okay to delay taking the Part B. And if somebody's like, what the heck is Part B? Well, remember I said FICA, right? Only covers one part of Medicare. That's Part A. That's hospitalization. And boy, we could get into a whole thing about Part A and what's good and what's bad about that, right? Just to be honest, because there is a deductible, and it's not a once a year deductible like you're used to at work, right? It happens if you go in the hospital, you pay $1,632. That's $1,632 to be clear. They don't.
Oh, not $16.32.
No.
So let me understand.
And 91 days later, another times the time frame resets. You could pay that if you had a really terrible bad year. You could pay that multiple times.
So going to the hospital, that is your deductible?
If you have only original Medicare.
Okay. So it's so important to get B, right? Am I understanding?
Totally different ballgame, right?
Okay.
So here again, if you are a lucky one that gets to keep your work coverage, that's beautiful, right? Then you don't have to get Part B yet. Part B, what that is that's your doctor visits. That's what you're used to from your current, like if you have an HMO or PPO at work, B is what you're used to having, right? It's your doctor visits, it's treatments, it could be like injectable drugs as well, like insulin. Chemotherapy would be covered under Part B, okay? So those are things that you might be used to and what you're expecting. Here's what you may not know. It's not free. You haven't already paid for this. You've paid for Part A. Gotcha. Part B is $100 this year, and it goes up. Usually it goes up every year. We don't know yet what it'll be next year. This year it's $174.70 a month. Okay. So, and here's the challenge. And here's where I love talking to people that are like 64 and 6 months, right?
Yep.
I love to talk to people who are just getting ready to sign up for Medicare, because you got to make a decision. And if you take it, that's great. So $174.70 a month is what you're going to pay, right? If you don't take it and you don't have what Medicare considers credible coverage, right? Penalties forever. And then you can get it later, but you will pay penalties. You will be
each
penalized. Month. Yes.
Wow.
Forever. It doesn't go away. It doesn't stop.
Dang. So is it like a 10? I heard 10%, but it's not. But that is ongoing
forever.
Dang.
So wow. And if I may put a plug in, there's lots of people like me that do this for a living, and we just like your home and auto insurance agent. We don't charge people a fee to talk to them and give them advice. Not at all. I mean, like if if we write you an insurance policy, it's the same. Like the insurance carriers pay us when we write policies. So we don't charge people. Nobody should be charging you for advice. Right. That's a licensed agent in our state. They shouldn't be charging you for their advice. Right. So it's good to sit down and talk with someone, or if you have a financial planner, they should be able to help you make a decision about whether or not you should take B. But I'm always happy. And I know all the folks that do this that I know are happy to talk to people about it, because it's a decision you want to make very carefully.
Sure. And, you don't, in our situation where we're on the outside looking in, it's so important to have a trusted person that can walk us through our options. And I think whenever we try to do it ourselves, the consequences, obviously, when you said that 10% penalty ongoing, that can add up. And when you look at that versus calling you and saying, how about this? What about this? I've heard this. Always confirm it. Always talk to people that make a living. I mean, you make a living in this industry. So you're going to make sure you have all the accurate information to your best of knowledge. I mean, nobody knows everything.
Right.
But so I want you to, and let me see if I can go to this. I want you to tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, look at that. Look at you.
Yes.
There's one quick thing I didn't say about Part B, though, by
the
way.
Yeah,
it's an 80-20 split. Okay.
Okay.
So that means they pay 80%, you pay 20%. Your cost share is always going to be 20%. And
Okay.
so we insurance agents, you'll hear us say, so if your chemotherapy is $150,000, how much are you paying?
20% of that. Yeah.
Okay. $30,000.
Yeah. 30. That's still,
there's no cap.
It's a little bit better because we had a person from the Philippines on. They don't have that safety net over there. So I think it was her parents or grandparents had to be treated for cancer and they had out of pocket. Now, because you're out of pocket on everything over there, it's not like it's 150,000 is lower because insurance always inflates things because you're not paying the true value of it. So for our audio listeners, we want to always tell them how they can get a hold of you.
Okay. Yeah. If you need some advice or want to just chat about some of these things that we've talked about, my phone number is 470-315-0810. That's 470-315-0810. I am on Facebook. I've heard that I'm hard to find, but it's Elli Jolly Senior Health. No. Well, see, I don't even know what it is. It's Elli Jolly Health Agent is the Facebook. And then my email is elli@ejolly.agency.
I love that. When I saw that on your card, I said, dang, I like that.
I bought a domain. I'm legit.
Is that right? Wow. So you bought that. That's pretty good.
I bought that domain.
Yes. Okay. Well, I want to encourage our viewers, share this video with somebody, especially when they're 63, 64, getting into that age where they have to start knowing what's going on. They have to be aware of their options. If you don't make the right decisions, there's penalties. And you want to say, oh, I wish I would have called, when all you had to do is ask you questions, have you answer them, educate people to allow them to know what their options are. Because I guarantee it isn't simple. They're always changing things and you have to be aware of those. So what would you say as we wind down? What would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from this podcast today?
Honestly, and we didn't even talk about the other two parts of Medicare, by the way. We didn't talk about C&D. We didn't talk about the two options you can get to supplement original Medicare A and B. So there's a lot more to cover here.
Well, you know what? I have an idea since you said that.
Oh.
We might have to have you back as a guest.
I'd be glad to.
Okay.
I'd be honored.
I'm glad you didn't cover everything that they need to know. We have some additional information to pass on to our viewers. So, okay, what would be the one thing you would want them to take home?
This is going to sound so silly, but you don't have to figure it out yourself. That's it, really. When you were working, your HR department would send you two options, right? And be like, it's annual enrollment, pick one of these two plans. And when you turn 65 and they kick you off the plan, you think you got to Google everything and figure it out yourself. You really don't have to. Wherever you live, there are agents like me that are health and life insurance agents that are licensed by your state.
Yeah, but there's only one person that I know that sold Cutco way back.
That's right.
That now is in this business. So if you want some knowledge on Cutco too, they have to call you because not many people.
That's right.
Like I did. I sold it too.
We sold
not many people can cut a corkscrew with some scissors.
I can do it.
And have a wine corkscrew for a penny.
Now, what I didn't tell you earlier is I have a scar, which I can show you.
From cutting?
I was holding the rope at a demonstration, which was a part of selling Cutco when I was like 19.
And they hit your finger?
They almost cut the top of my finger off.
Oh,
can you believe it?
Well,
and I kept selling the Cutco.
And they didn't tell you it was a dangerous job when you took it either, probably. They said, all you have to do is meet with parents and show them how to cut a rope and how to make a cheap wine corkscrew for them. All right. I want to thank you, Elli, for coming across all the traffic, coming here in the studio and being with us. And we will want to make sure, share this video with your friends. We all have friends in our 60s that need to know what's going on with Medicare. Thank you, Elli, for being our guest on the show.
Thank you.